Now can I open them?
All right. Now.
All right. Now, to start off, I want you to read these books. All of them? That, my boy, is a mountain of knowledge.
I checked this out weeks ago, forbidden light reading.
This is light.
A book? What do you want a book for?
To read?
To read? Why would you want to read when you got the television set sitting right in front of you? There's nothing you can get from a book that you can't get from a television faster.
Where are the children's books, please?
In that room right over there. Would you like me to pick you out one with lots of pictures in it?
No, thank you. I'm sure I can manage.
From then on, every day as soon as her mother went to bingo, Matilda walked the 10 blocks to the library and devoured one book after another. When she finished all the children's books, she started wandering around in search of something else. Mrs. Phelps, who had been watching her with fascination for the past few weeks, offered Matilda some valuable library information.
You know you could have your very own library card, and then you could take books home. And you wouldn't have to walk here every day. You could take as many as you like.
That would be wonderful.
So Matilda's strong young mind continued to grow, nurtured by the voices of all those authors who had sent their books out into the world, like ships onto the sea. These books gave Matilda a hopeful and comforting message. You are not alone. Consider this your passport to the wonderful and quite unpredictable world of books.
Welcome to Looks at Books with Clint Normand. Today we're speaking about Moby Dick. Have you heard of this? The father and Matilda had never heard of it when she told him, it's not trash, Daddy. It's lovely. It's Moby Dick by Herman Melville, and he's like, Moby, what? That shit was funny. This book is incredible. I love it. A lot of people do not like it because it's kind of a slog to get through. I'll admit a lot of details on whaling and whales themselves, but that was kind of the point. Like, Herman Melville wanted to get into the minutia of what it was like to go through this, to whale and to be on a whaling vessel, to be in this occupation. He went through it for a few years. I think it was like 3 or 4 years. He was on a whaler, and he yeah, his account is kind of like from firsthand experience. Also, he had heard of this encounter that the Essex had with a white whale. It destroyed it. The whale's name was actually Mocha Dick. That's where he got the name for Moby Dick. And the ending of the novel is very much like what happened in real life. So we have these characters set up at the beginning. We have Ishmael. It's told from his perspective. He arrives in Nantucket looking for work. He wants to join a whaling vessel and finds himself signing up for the Pequod's voyage. And he's paired with Queequeg, a harpooner guy. He now Ishmael believes him to be a cannibal, but it's never actually explicitly stated whether he eats people or not. He just kind of assumes. So you also have other characters. It's a very diverse group of men on this ship. There's a black man, there's an Indian, there's Queequeg who's Polynesian, and there's white people, of course, because it's Nantucket. And yeah, so they all are meshed together on this ship because they all have one goal, is to go whaling. But they they realize quickly that this is just a quest for revenge against one whale in particular, Moby Dick, the great white whale that destroyed Ahab's vessel and bit off his leg. So Ahab is on a quest for vengeance, and he's bringing all these guys along, these hapless souls, these poor hapless souls. Before they even take off, a man called Elijah portents that this voyage is doomed, that they're probably all going to die, like this will be Ahab's last voyage. And throughout the novel, there's foreshadowing that this is likely the case. But Ishmael finds himself caught up in the feeling of vengeance, in Ahab's quest for vengeance. Like he feels himself like kind of tied to this guy's quest. So they on their way they encounter 9 different vessels. Each one has encountered Moby Dick at some point. So Ahab is kind of tracing Moby Dick's trail throughout the voyage, and he eventually reaches him. One of the vessels, actually, the captain lost his son, so they've been looking for him, and they ask Ahab to help him search, and Ahab refuses. He's so hell bent on finding Moby Dick. He's just obsessed, and you really see that if you watch Pagemaster. I have that clip from Pagemaster, but there's other ones I could use. Like there's one that actually has Ahab and Moby Dick in it, and Ahab's eyes are like bloodshot red, and and one of the library books says he's possessed. He's insane. Because he is, man. He's so totally obsessed with finding this whale that he'll do anything. Like nobody's gonna stop him. I kind of based one of my characters in my novel off of him, Slitico. Only I made him more sympathetic. He's more of a good guy, but he is kind of obsessed with finding Watchin. This is a sea beast that I came up with, kind of like a underwater scorpion, basically. But yeah, Moby Dick is one of the most iconic books of all time. It's one of the great American novels, a classic. But in Herman Melville's lifetime, he never got to see it like lauded or anything. Like he never got to see it fully appreciated for what it is. It wasn't until like the 1911 or something or later that people started to look at this and say, "Oh, this is actually amazing. This is poetic." And it's very poignant, and this is a classic for all time. Like people are still talking about this novel to this day. That's why I'm talking about it, because I love it. And I love the adaptations of it. I watched the William Hurt adaptation, and that's my favorite, the 2011 one. Ethan Hawke plays Starbuck. By the way, Starbuck's the name Starbuck. That's where that came from Moby Dick. He's the first mate, Starbuck. And Stubb is the second mate. What's his name? Flask is the third mate. And I'm trying to remember all the characters' names. But yeah. Try not to get sidetracked. because I had a thought and I lost it. Crap. But Herman Melville, he was a contemporary of Nathaniel Hawthorne. He kind of emulated his style, where he used more like poetic language and references to biblical characters and whatnot. There's the whole sermon about Jonah at the beginning with Father Mapple. I think it was Mapple. And yeah, Ahab refused to go to church because he believed that God wouldn't wouldn't stand for somebody pretending to believe in him. That's his whole reason for not going to church. I don't remember if that was in the book, because that was in the adaptation, the 2011 one. But I thought that was funny though. But it rings true though. It's like, do you think he would really, if he exists, would he really want me going and pretending that I believe him? So Ahab himself is an ungodly man. That, like, he's described that way by one of the owners of the ship, and but a godlike man, which is kind of interesting, because he seems like this larger than life figure, you know, who commands anyone when he walks into a room. Like, he's the most important guy there. He's that kind of man. And Moby Dick is this creature that mocks him, that got away, that took his leg, destroyed his ship, and got away, and he cannot stand him. He wants to exact vengeance, and he will at any cost. And by the end, you know that these two are going to collide, and it's going to be epic. And it is. The ending is the best part. Like, you get through all of the, all of the exposition, all of the constant voyages, all of the infighting. Like, there's infighting among the crew because they see this as a doomed voyage eventually. Like, Queequeg even like becomes sick and fashions himself a coffin that actually plays an important part later. But you don't get, yeah. I'm not going to spoil too much, but you can guess how this is going to go. Like, it's not going to end well. There's a Seinfeld scene that I always think about. He's when George leaves a book at an ex's apartment and he wants to go get it back. Jerry's like, why do people keep books in their houses like they're trophies? Like, what do you need it for after you read it? Because when it's interesting, when you read Moby Dick the second time, Ahab and the whale become good friends. Anyone who knows this story would understand that reference. Like, these two are not friends. But pick it up if you haven't read this. This is one of the great American novels. Like I said, it might be difficult the first read to get through because of all the references and the descriptions of whaling. Like I said, but it is an amazing novel. Oh, by the way, this has been referenced everywhere. This was in Wrath of Khan. Like, Khan actually quotes Ahab in this novel, like in the movie when in his quest to destroy Kirk for what he did, like he marooned him, and then Khan's wife ended up dying. So Khan blames him, and so he's become this Ahab kind of figure in Wrath of Khan. Yeah, Melville dedicated this novel to Nathaniel Hawthorne. They were friends and contemporaries, and he, like I say, he emulated his style a little bit because he loved it so much. Command the murderous chalices, drink ye harpooners, drink and swear ye men that man the dreadful whaleboat's bow, death to Moby Dick. So Captain Ahab binds his crew to fulfill his obsession, the destruction of the great white whale. Under his lordly but maniacal command, the Pequod's commercial mission is perverted to one of vengeance. To Ahab, the monster that destroyed his body is not a creature, but the symbol of some unknown but still reasoning thing. Uncowed by natural disasters, ill omens, even death, Ahab urges his ship towards the undeliverable, nameless perils of the whale. Thus is Moby Dick.